What's up, guys? We got one here from The Wall, Woman Hitting the Wall, Part 9. Let's get into it.
Put a finger down if you want on a date with a guy that you met at the gym and he takes you to Dave & Buster's and he's super sweet and nice and respectful. If you go on a second date with him, he takes you bowling. Super fun, sweet, nice. Date ends early. He doesn't want to stop hanging out with you. You don't want to invite him back to your place, but you willingly go to his place, even though you don't really know him that well. And you're sitting at his place next to him in the dark. And you guys are talking, and you having a taser comes into conversation, and he tells you to tase him, and you're like, what? And he tells you, tase me, I don't feel any pain. And you're like, what do you mean? Were you not born with any pain receptors? And he goes, no, I was. I'm just a celestial, so I don't feel any pain. And you're like, come again? What does that mean? And he tells you that a celestial means that he is an angel in a human's body. And you're like, okay, is that like the TV show Lucifer? And he goes, oh yeah, they just didn't get everything right. And you're like, what do you mean they didn't get everything right? And he goes, Lucifer actually goes by Satan. And that the daddy issues part is real. And you're like, oh, okay, so you guys are brothers? And he says, yes. And then you ask him if he has wings and if he can fly. And he says, yes. And you're like, okay, can I see them? And then he goes, well, I can't pop them out on command, but if we go to a rooftop, I can show them to you. And then the first thing that comes to your mind when he says that is that he is going to himself, you, or the both of you. So you're like, no, thank you. Then he tells you that he's not actually 25, that he was born in the time AD. You know, there's BC and AD. He was from the time AD. So you're like, oh, okay, so you're like 2,000 something years old. And he's like, yeah, I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around there. So you're like, okay. Then he tells you that if you guys had a baby, that baby would be a celestial. Then he tells you that he was brought on this earth to protect you specifically. And then he says that you can become a celestial too, and then tries to bite your arm. Then he tells you that he's going to get in big trouble for telling you all of this because you're not supposed to know this because he's supposed to be the angel protecting you.
Did she not see any of the red flags leading up to before she even went to this dude's house, but yet still sat there to listen to this weird shit? I don't even know if this story is true or not. She could be completely fabricating it, but at this day and age, with as nuts as people are, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm just going to address this as it is what it is, and let's just roll with it and see what happens. I mean, nothing screams a romantic date like a guy trying to convince you he's an angel with daddy issues, and Lucifer's bro, no less. This isn't a date, it's a casting call for the next season of Supernatural. I mean, ladies, if a dude starts talking about rooftops and wings, run. He's either trying to cosplay as Batman or audition for the creepiest guy alive award. Seriously, why are you at his place in the dark on a date? And that's like holding up a neon sign that says, hey, I make poor decisions.
And then he makes you promise not to tell this story to anybody. He tells you, he pinky promises, but while he's telling you, he starts laughing and he says, before you even tell anyone, I will already know. And that creeps you out. But you're like, okay. And almost forgot to mention, anytime that he was telling you and talking to you about this, he was getting really close to your face, and it didn't look like him. It looked like an actual demon. Anyway, he takes you home, and he shows you, pulls out a triangular knife. The blade is triangular, and there's a red rope wrapped around the handle. And he tells you, want to take a guess who gave me this? And you say, oh, Satan. And he goes, yep, he gave this to me to protect me from his demons. And you're like, oh, I thought you guys were buddies. And he goes, no, yeah, but his demons like to not listen to him. And you're like, okay. You go home, and you know you're never going to see this man again, ever again. A week later, you decide to tell your best friend, and as soon as you tell her, he calls you up. And he just says, hey, how are you? How have you been? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Okay. Right? Then, you tell another friend a few days later, and he calls you immediately after you tell that story. Same thing. Hey, how are you? How have you been? Mind you, he never calls you, ever. A few months go by, and you're on FaceTime with your mom, and you're telling her this story, and you're on the 26th floor, and it's nice, it's clear skies, and a big cloud just comes surrounding your floor to ceiling windows apartment, and only on your floor. Right? Then a few more months go by, and you get invited to a gym opening, and this is the pre-opening. They're only inviting influencers. He is not an influencer. You're at the gym pre-opening. You're telling one of your friends this story. 5 minutes later, he walks up to you, comes out of nowhere, walks up to you, says, "Hey, how have you been?" and walks away. And a year goes by, and you go on a date with another guy, and you go bowling, and this reminds you of this guy, so you tell him the story of what happened, and as soon as you tell this story, the machine in your bowling lane stops working, and the guy you're on a date with freaks out, and he leaves. And now, anytime you tell this story, something always happens.
So we got the old demon knife reveal. I mean, that's really romantic. And the pinky promise. Jesus, pinky promises are what the devil needs to seal the deals these days. I thought it was your soul, but not anymore. He's moved on. But the red rope on the knife is a nice touch. It's like Satan's version of a ribbon cutting ceremony. But here's the kicker. The dude stalks you harder than the paparazzi during a Kardashian meltdown. If telling your friends about a guy causes appliances to break, clouds to descend, it's time to change your zip code and maybe even planets.
This is an update to my crazy dating story. Yes, I am okay. Nothing that weird has really happened. The morning after I told the story, there was a rainbow that showed up on my floor when I woke up. Then this thing appeared on my window.
I get an energy from you that I don't get from all people, When you walked in, I was just like, wow.
Like, how does an insect that small make it up so high up? I don't know. Also, yes, this is a true story. It's not a book that I read or a movie that's coming out. I wish it was. The reason why I didn't block his number right away was because I think I was in kind of a shock. I couldn't believe what was just told to me. It took me a while to kind of process it and be like, wait, hold on, this is messed up. This is not normal. This is crazy. Because he was such a nice and respectful guy. This man was in the military. He would feed the homeless several days a week. He was a personal trainer. He was very nice and he seemed like a good guy. I guess I don't know where that came from. He is blocked on everything now. And a lot of people say that he probably tapped my phone, and maybe he did, but I've gotten a new phone since a few months after that happened, and then the gym story happened with my new phone. The one where I told my friend in the gym, and then 5 minutes later he shows up. I haven't seen him in a year. Hopefully I don't ever see him again. Yeah, that was it. Oh, and this did happen in LA. I guess that's why they call it the City of Angels.
I mean, this isn't a relationship status on Facebook. It's a full-blown Twilight Zone episode. I mean, the guy feeds the homeless and trains clients by day and then cosplays as his Hellboy at night. I mean, look, just because someone volunteers doesn't mean they're not nuts. And if you live in LA's City of Angels, you're in California, and majority of the people are nuts as is. I know I live in California. Not that I'm nuts. I'm trying to get the F out because people are nuts. But anyways, LA to City of Angels, it's not a cute coincidence. It's a warning label. Change your gym membership, block his number again, and maybe sage your whole apartment while you're at it. Just to add for context on all of the videos here, this is all about her today on this video. Every clip that she had up had her doing before she goes into her commentary some sort of thirst trap, changing clothes, working out, stuff like that. She's supposed to be like a health gym nut, gym rat influencer or something. But just to give you the context, she's basically putting a half naked body out there and just posting thirst trap. But anyways, let's move on.
I didn't think that I was going to make this video, but I feel like I just have to speak up on what happened and what is happening with the U.S. justice system, because I am so fucking speechless right now. And I apologize if I cry during this video, but I have been keeping this in for 2 years and I can't do it anymore. I was sexually assaulted 2 years ago by a couple of guys that I thought were my friends. I didn't know them for that long. I was drugged and I was raped. I was on my period when this happened, and I had a tampon in. And when I woke up the next day, completely unaware of where I am or what happened, I was completely naked from the waist down. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what happened. And then when I went to the bathroom and I couldn't find my tampon, I immediately knew what happened. And I was not okay. I spent the whole day at the hospital getting exams and tests and talking to doctors and the police, and they found the tampon jammed up inside of me, and I had a bruise on my arm, and I had a detective, and I had to hunt him down every time to get an update on the case because nothing was being done. After 2 years, he couldn't find the guy. Like, what do you mean you can't find him? He's on social media. What do you mean? You're a fucking detective. How can you not find him? And I was tired of waiting and not getting justice. So I hired a very, very, very good criminal defense lawyer. And I worked with his bounty hunter. And he did everything he could. But the DA said that they don't think this was great. They think that what happened was completely consensual.
So this is where it gets really dark. But again, as I just said in the previous clip, every clip she's put up, she's posted thirst trap. I just cut it all out because we don't need to be simping over that stuff. And there was thirst trap on this clip before she went into this section as well. I don't know how to fully respond to what she is saying. I know specifically two people very, very close to me that have been essayed. I don't want to go in and comment on what my thoughts are, whether I believe or do not believe what she says. What she's telling us is that seems like the justice system has failed. Yeah, so what seems to be leading on here is that they felt that it was consensual and not SA. If there's anybody in law enforcement that can shed more light into just something like this in general, not on this case, but in this in general through their own experiences, that would be great. I do work with law enforcement on a very regular basis, so I do hear a lot of these stories. But again, I'm keeping my thoughts and opinions on this to myself. Yeah, but if you can shed some light into the comments here as to what you've experienced over your tenure as a law enforcement officer, that might help shed more light for anybody with questions on it. Anyways, I think she has one more.
They think it was completely consensual, even though they saw how I was. They saw my reaction. There was a tampon jammed up inside of me. There's all these proofs, and the DA will not take this case to court because they think it was consensual. And there is nothing that can be done. Nothing. I can file a civil case. That's it. But I can't file a criminal case. This fucking man gets to walk free and do this to other women, and I have to sit here and suffer with PTSD still to this day, even after going to therapy. I can't even have my own sexual relations because I get fucking triggered. I get triggered. And I get an attack. I really thought that I was going to get justice on this. I really, really, really thought that this man was going to be put behind bars and I was going to get justice and I was going to feel okay. But I can't believe how shitty the U.S. justice system is. How can they let this happen? How can they let a man who fucking rapes women free? I don't know what to do. I don't know what else to do. So I just wanted to tell my story about what happened and how shitty the U.S. justice system is because they have to fix this. This is not okay. This is not consensual at all. I am so traumatized from this situation and I can't even get justice from it. Oh my god. I don't know what else to do. Yeah, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say to this. Again, like I said, I'll keep my commentary on this one to myself. As I said in the last clip, anybody that's in law enforcement or in the legal system that could shed additional light just in general on something like this, how would they determine if something was consensual versus not consensual? That would be great. The video's over. Let's just go ahead and just close it out here. The world's a mess. I mean, we have delusional Jim Casanovas to justice system that treats survivors like afterthoughts. What kind of solutions can we have? And it's for starters, ladies, sharpen your creep radar, date safety, and trust your instincts. And they're there for a reason. As for men, stand up, speak out against injustice. And as for a broken legal system, it's time to demand accountability. And this is just in general. Enough with DAs who play politics instead of doing their jobs. Seen this actually too many times. But let's address the elephant in the room, the collapse of the family, toxic dating culture, and how modern media feeds into this dumpster fire. If we want real change, we need stronger communities, transparent laws, and maybe a little less city of angels and a lot more city of common sense. Anyways, guys, that's the end of the video here today. If you like what you've seen, hit that like button, share, subscribe. Drop me a comment down below what you think, especially anybody who's been in the legal system or law enforcement that understands how these types of cases work to shed more light just in general. That would be helpful. But otherwise, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.